Morning. No, this might happen. Okay. I had the thought that I might just do the flowers spilling across there and the fuchsia hanging down on this side. Oh, I'm kind of inspired to do that now. And then I thought, in case I don't want to do that, I might, because I love, this is a jug from Veronica, and I thought it might be quite nice to incorporate that as well, to have the jug in there and then the spill. And I think it helps me to work broadly to begin with, you know, to make marks from the shoulder. And so I think I will go with the bigger one. Just start the timer. Yeah. So welcome, new people. Sorry, new like. I feel like I know you for ages. But Caroline, we've only just met this morning.
Yes.
So yeah, you're very welcome. And welcome back everyone else, thanks. I think Veronica's going to be a wee bit later. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just kind of loosening my body up a little bit now first, I think. It kind of helps me to shake it off a bit and start to visualise the space that the flowers might occupy on the paper and the position that the jug might sit in as well. I'm not sure I want it to be centred. It probably feels more appropriate, especially with the fuchsia thing off here, to have the jug to the left a little bit. I'm just preempting this thing turning itself on. And then I thought, okay, I'll just do something. So I put out my colours here. On the table, I took the top leaf off that, and I've got the colours out there. And I'll talk about them as I use them maybe. And then I'm going to use the palette to maybe mix the colours then. I'm starting off, let's see, I think I'll do the same as yesterday and start off again with the green and a fairly dry 2-inch brush. I feel like with my eyes half closed, it's the green that kind of helps me find my way in, the shape of the foliage in between parts. So I've got the Hooker's green, and I've got these paints if anyone doesn't have the same colours, and the Van Dyke brown. I put on too much green there altogether. And then I think I'll put a touch of the ultramarine blue into it just to darken it down a bit further, even a bit more brown actually. Okay. Yeah. I'll just begin in that section there. And there's the flowers, like the edge of the flowers comes to maybe about here, the jug might end about here, and there on that side too. I even want my other hand to be able to do something. It's good, like, to really widen your chest. You know, there's a TED talk, Amy Cummings' TED talk about standing like this for 2 minutes, and you feel more confident when your chest is open. She said, stand like Wonder Woman. Stand up straight, yeah.
People stand up straight.
I saw you do that, yeah. Yeah, top marks there now. Well done.
I need you to keep reminding me.
Well, I need to remind myself. But it certainly feels more like I'm fully occupying the space I'm in when I've not got any accoutrements, or you know, and the wide brush is helpful too for that old feeling. Okay. And I think as the leaves go up the way, some of them get a bit lighter as they go up there, you know. But actually they're quite dark around the back again. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit more of the brown and blue mix in order to find the fuchsia, leaves of the fuchsia that are dropping down there to the right. I mean, it all looks the same colour, doesn't it? But I'm wanting to make it a bit darker over here, so put more of the blue into it. So I started with the brush quite dry, and then I wanted to limber it up so I could manipulate the paint a little bit on there. So I put a touch of water into it then, but it's not dripping wet by any means. Yeah. I mean, I'm conscious that there's a daisy there, you know, there's a hydrangea there, there's some flowers over here. So I'm not just kind of placing the green down willy-nilly, like, there is some bit of a rhyme or reason to it. And like yesterday, my eyes are half closed all the time in order that I don't see too much and can eliminate the colourful details, because like, there's a lot going on there, isn't there? And what about this? Let's stick that on as well, because there's some sort of, that actually looks like a fuchsia leaf, doesn't it? I know some people might be allergic to stencils, but I think they're kind of handy. Just see.
Could you do the opposite of that and block off an area? It stays white.
Well, when I turn it over, it's got paint on there, like, what do you mean that? Oh,
Like
it's a
a
block off, oh yeah.
Like a resist situation, you know, so you have like a shape of the daisy.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do that, couldn't you? That's a good idea. Why don't you try that? You can be the guinea pig today. That's a good idea. I think the masking tape on the tabletop, you know, when I try and get something horizontal for the tabletop, that masks it off so that you can be a bit freer painting the tabletop in. And of course with acrylic, if you're not familiar with it, you need to put your brushes into the water fairly often so they don't go hard. What was I looking for there now? I think just a bit of kitchen paper in order that I can work back in. It's gone too dry, I'd say, with all my talk. But you know where you can lift off, again, using the kitchen paper as a tool. And I quite like lines overshooting. I think it's no harm to have the evidence of the painting, the finding and floundering, still there at the end of the picture even. So here we've got the daisy, maybe the hydrangea might be kind of roughly there-ish. Rinsky, you did this beautifully yesterday, lifting out the shapes of the marigold after you painted the whole thing with this lovely dramatic dark, and then you lift it out with the kitchen paper. Okay, now let's just leave that for a while. And I think it's handy too if you can, and I've got spare brushes, so ask me if you can have a few different brushes so you're not having to wash your green brush really clean before you can go into the orange. I think I will do the orange. Yeah, I think I'll just go in with that orange there. And maybe again, I'll be taking shortcuts the whole time now with the stencils. But I think the crocosmia is one of those flowers that has little bits in it, extending kind of willy-nilly around the place, you know. Have I said willy-nilly a few times? I don't know why I'm saying that word.
That was very exciting. It was really exciting to do that.
Well, it feels exciting to me as well. Like, I want to be surprised myself. I'm reading a book by Rick Rubin at the moment on creativity. I have it in my bag if anyone wants it. And he speaks about it being for yourself first. Whatever you do on the paper, it needs to be, you need to be enthusiastic about it yourself. And really always, that's the, you know, it doesn't have to be for, I think if you can, it's easy said than done, like, but if you can just forget about anyone else's idea of what you're doing and just follow what feels like your response to what's here. That's all we can, any of us can do anyway, sure, isn't it? Really. And, yeah. And it's only a piece of paper, you know, it's okay. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. I'm going to put some white on there like I did that yesterday, because I feel like when there's a flower that's bright, I don't want to have to be working against the green to try and make that orange happen. So I see a couple of touches of light in the hydrangea there as well. Okay, and then we've got options in the back, just really back to nursery school. Actually, you did lovely things with collage. Do you remember that turquoise kind of Portuguese
Yes, I remember that one, yes.
wall
Yes.
stuff? I couldn't find that wallpaper again,
Oh.
but there's plenty of different things in here.
It is amusing collage, isn't it?
It is, and even just doing that, like,
Yeah.
That didn't happen, did
There's
it?
two ways to rip it, isn't there? Because one way you leave the white around the edge.
That's
and one way
right,
you do-
yeah. Yeah, that's right. I'm just gonna
No,
do-
no, I won't get it wrong.
Well, maybe I'm gonna make the next there. And I have the alarm set, so I'm not gonna, sometimes I start having too much fun then. But I thought what I might do is, if I am considering collage somewhere, I think I might just put something down for the tabletop, this kind of goldy colour. No. I think it needs to be a little bit higher than that. So judging the height of the floral area, again, kind of, I may put the tabletop about here, I'd say. Doesn't matter anyway, so you can always, the thing with mixed media is that you're able to adjust the edges all the way through the painting, because I'm going to show you a few things, hopefully before the timer goes on, a few options for shifting edges, ways of explaining. Well, why don't I just, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay. Can I steal your water, someone? Thanks, guy. And I'll get you fresh food after. Because as well as having second brushes, another brush, it's handy too to have two containers of water. And if I have time, I'll fill some buckets of water, because it's annoying going to the toilet for the fresh water every time.
Yeah.
So we have one bucket of hopefully clean water when I get it done, and an empty bucket to pour your dirty stuff into. Okay, what am I thinking? I suppose is it kind of close enough to yellow ochre, that table colour.
Yes.
It's probably the closest colour, I'd say,
Yes.
on the palette to it maybe. It's very bright, and it's also a very wet brush. Maybe subdue it just a touch. You know, it seems like it is the colour, but I don't know if I want it to be all that so completely bright. I'm just putting a touch of the green and brown into it, and a touch of the cadmium red either, so that I'm making something maybe a little bit more muted. And I suppose, I don't know if I want, yeah, I think I do. You know, that it's not so kind of loud down there. That just really feels great, you know, honestly. There's
It's not
3-inch
art, it's a
brushes
keep-it
too.
class.
It's a bit of that, and I think our bodies, like, that's another thing your man in the book says, Rick Rubin says, your body knows what to do. If you can leave everything at the door and bring your body to the page, it'll know what to do. There's something about that. So I think that it is worthwhile tuning in and doing maybe a touch of Tai Chi or some sort of shaking it off, like this even, just before you start.
Yes.
Um,
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to lead us in some Tai Chi, my sister did it at the summer school. I was saying that yesterday, but she's not here this time. But we could just even do, you know, standing at your own easel, just that knocking on heaven's door thing. I like that. Yeah, see when it dries, it starts to make funny things. If you splash. And anything that stimulates that excited response in your belly is a good thing. And things like that make me feel a bit excited. Now, I had the thought that because we put paint down for the tabletop, we could maybe use, some paper. You know, for the jug. And maybe even just lob it on in a kind of not very precise way, really. Just gonna put some PVA glue in the back of it and hope for the best. I think it was you yesterday inspired me with this, the back of it, having that kind of creamy colour.
And now
There's
you
your
put the
big
glue on the
thing.
wrong side.
So I'm gonna, I put it on the wrong side. Did you know I was doing that? You're like, oh yeah, hang on.
Interesting job.
Oh, yeah, let's see. No, that's not the one. Although actually some of those, did you think I'd changed my mind halfway through. I mean, you could kind of use some of those leaves in places too. There's something about foliage that's kind of, it's a bit nondescript and kind of chaotic, and I think collage lends itself to that. Here and there, you know, you don't want to go to town too much. It's nice to discover it as you look at the painting, I think. I mean, you could consider where it would work and where not. And there's different, you know, we've got all kinds of collage. And yesterday somebody really nicely, it was Barbara, who's not here today now, but she, I'll do it right now this time. What she did yesterday was, she put a frame of safari animals around her picture at the end of the day. And it was just lovely. You know, she sent it to me in an email after. And I thought, my heart leapt when I saw it. There's something about that complete abandon.
Yeah, she'd really got into it.
Yeah. And it was lovely to have that kind of childlike willingness to play in the mix, you know. So, am I even tearing it in the right fucking direction? Because you were talking about having the edge or not, and, you know. But let's just try it out. Look, I think it might be alright there. It's a bit kind of cumbersome looking, isn't it? Maybe just a little bit. Yeah, you think that's enough for the vase? You would, wouldn't you? Maybe I'll just forget about this altogether. You like having a bit of it. And then there's something about overlapping the tabletop and how it kind of gives an indication of the solidity of the thing. Maybe.
How did you get the little patterning on the yellow?
On here, is it?
Yeah.
Well, what happened there was that I put on a layer of the. I'm sure you've done this before.
I probably have.
Put on a layer of the yellow.
Yeah.
And then let it dry for.
Oh.
And then you put it on fairly dry, like.
Yes.
It's even probably too wet. I can't do it just now, but in a minute I'd splash it.
Yeah.
So you'd let it dry.
Oh, I see, and then you splash it and then wipe it. Gotcha.
Splash it, maybe let it dry a wee bit longer, and
Yeah.
then wipe it away.
Right.
Yeah. So you wouldn't want to splash and wipe it off straight away, because that's just. I mean, play with the timing.
Yes. Yeah.
It depends on the consistency of
Yeah.
water in your paint and all of that stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm kind of a fan of that thing. I might have to be now. Maybe just there. I'm going to try to stand something. Pardon?
I'm not as free as I'm.
I think you're very free. You've got one of those spirits of freedom in you.
Yeah, but not when it comes to painting.
I've never seen you use stencils.
Haven't you?
Never.
I don't know when I started.
No,
Who
it's a
told
funny
me about
thing
them?
with stencils.
You might
You
hate
sort
them.
of feel it's a bit cheating, and it's absolutely the opposite of how you.
yesterday.
It's the opposite of how you. But I loved that little.
It's the touch of fusion. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, I know. It feels like the opposite of doing your own thing, to kind of have this kind of mechanical thing. But I think anything that works to create the layers.
I would never have thought of it.
And
I'll be in here.
that's what I thought. Yeah, I know you will. Yeah, you'll be in the middle of them.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm taking that off altogether. Okay, and I thought maybe I might use that for the pattern on the jug. Now I know it's not facing me, the pattern, but I think it's kind of nice to have something
Yeah.
of that. You know, I'm going to pretend it's turning this way and forget about the handle, I think.
I always have to put telegraph poles in if it's in, if I'm doing a landscape, because they're there and I can't not put it in.
I know. I used to be like that the whole time.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
No, I can't. I've learned a bit from Sheena and from Damien too, that I don't have to put everything in. Like, I'd come back the next week and there'd be something in front of the model's elbow and I'd have to put and he'd say, "Oh, no, you don't have to do that now. You don't have to repaint the whole thing."
And you can put a telegraph pole in a different
place.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
you know, Taylor Cockney says that thing. The moment you cheat for the sake of beauty, you know you're an artist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, people listen to
It's not quite the same as
Oh, yeah.
And he also says about sitting down. No, go ahead, Brenda.
Well, I did a course with Hugh Buchanan, who got us drawing the Dalkeith Palace with all the chimneys and all the windows, and that was about 2 hours. But I'm sure somebody could count it.
So in the end, no, there's no collage, and I was thinking I'll do everything on here so everyone knows all the stuff. But you know, there's a box of collage there. Well, there is some collage. I did put some in. Okay, I'm going to see how this would read. Just a little bit of yellow there. I want to kind of indicate, and I think for you too, it's maybe helpful to indicate the position of the flowers or something before we stop for a break. You know, that you might locate the general position of all of the colours. You know, with half closed eyes. I don't know if that's in the right place at all. And then maybe the centre of the daisy somewhere there-ish. And then you've got the fuchsia. I might even just do, where's that? Blessed gosh. Oh there. I thought I might just maybe do a single fuchsia, because I suggested getting these brushes, and I think they're quite good to. So I'm going to bring something up in more of a, you know, in quite a lot of detail, I suppose, or you know, just finish one flower rather than keep doing everything everywhere. Because I want to show off these brushes a little bit and how you can use them almost like a palette knife to make. Sorry, mixing away there. So I was using cadmium red with the Van Dyke brown. I think that's okay. The fuchsia's backlit anyway, so I'm just going to look maybe at one single one out here. And you know, you can with the square brush, it allows you to make a clear mark. And then I'm just going to find the edge of one that's turned sideways. And I'm kind of deliberately going a bit dull with it too, because you can always brighten it up with a touch of collage, or we've got loads of different things. You know, the ink and the oil pastel are also good solutions for livening up. You know, you've got, maybe I'll just say something about that. We've got cadmium orange ink that you could bring in to describe little bits there. Might be better flat on the ground when you're using that. And then there's this bright fluorescent orange, if that's not enough for you, you know. You could, I think there's a kind of a dancing quality to the light, so sometimes that's nicely described with ink. And there's also these line, you can make line with these Caran d'Ache, and all this stuff will be on the table over there if you want to try out stuff. You can make lines, and maybe towards the end too you might draw even with oil pastel, which would sit more cleanly over the top if you want to bring in some more chaos into your foliage and things. And the other thing I wanted to show you was the Celeli pastel, which eats into the background and creates a really clean edge. If the paint is already dried and you can't wipe it away, it's possible then to be able to lift it out with that. And one last thing there, was I was telling you about the pen, you know, that pen stick with the ink. We were talking maybe about using that in your lovely petals, you know, the drawn line possibly. And that's something that maybe, let's see, I might even just do a leaf with it or something, you know. It's got quite a fine line again. I think it's lovely to come up with new ways of describing things. Find variety in your marks, you know. Did that fly off? Okay. I think that's maybe everything.
Is it for sale?
Oh,
it will be.
do your own thing. There's also this fluid acrylic. Susan gave me loads of these. I put them out as well, because that could be quite a nice thing. Let's see. I don't know. You could play around with things like the surface of the table, because you'd be able to, that's awful, isn't it? You'd be able to play about with stuff like that, like areas that are nondescript, you can bring collage into them or whatever. And there was, since the alarm hasn't gone off, I'm kind of doubting we'll get it around today. 20 seconds. Oh, sorry, no, that's Barbara actually, who was here yesterday. One thing I was going to say, sometimes in the background it's kind of exciting to put a line of masking tape in the background and to have, Brenda, you know what you did.
Yeah, I did it.
Oh, there's my time up. So yesterday Brenda put a line of masking tape down here, did you?
Yes, and then I made the side bit.
And then you used the, no, sorry. Then you used some of the turquoise, maybe ink, was it, or paint?
Yeah, I think it was ink, yeah.
Yeah, or fluid acrylic or whatever
No,
it was.
it was a see-through acrylic, you know.
Okay, yeah, so very much, and then with it being see-through and fluid, it had such a kind of contrast to this incredibly bold use of shape and colour and exciting drawn line. I think it can be quite a nice thing, maybe late on, to consider background as an option, you know, all the way through you can consider the background, of course, but if you're thinking it needs something, what does it, or I need to be excited again, you know, you could put on your little collage all the way down, or sorry, bit of tape all the way down, and then I'm just going to do something on it because I think it's kind of nice to turn the board. We were talking about that, how you could maybe put some colour on, and then if you want the board to, if you want the painting to go in, I don't want it to make an awful mess, I'll just pretend I want it to go that way. The runs and drips could go, like really you'd want them to go away from your painting probably. So you might turn it this way. I'll just clean the floor after. But you know, having the opportunity to let the runs and drips go in a different direction. That's actually not a great colour to do that thing with. I think your turquoise is a lot nicer.
But it demonstrates it.
It demonstrates it. And the lines were fine, weren't they, before anything else went on actually? Okay, there you have it now. Permission, full permission to explore, experiment, play, tear it up and glue it on and do whatever you want and go and have a dance in the garden every so often. And then we, at the end of the day, we stop around 3:30 to see what happened.
Yes.
You know, we have a little look at everybody's work. Okay,
Thank you.
so off you go. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Have you got things